everyone. Welcome to this roundtable on AI in insurance. So I'm Pallav, one of the EXCO members of IIA, and I am here to give you a brief about what IIA is, what you guys are doing, and then I'll hand it over to Nipun, who is the host for the or moderator for the event today. IIA, as you know, is a pan-industry body working on uh, a lot of different things, but mostly promoting insurtech startups in India through different ways, collaboration, thought leadership, etc., etc. But it's essentially a insurtech body in India, and it was started by three people: Terak, who runs RIA, and his co-founder Nipun is here as the moderator. Shwetank, who runs Leo Capital, and Shubhajit Mandal, who has a cyber startup called Cybersphera. And we aim together to bring all insurtechs, insurers, reinsurers, regulators, and so on, all onto the same platform and create an ecosystem which helps everyone grow and collaborate and so on, and also take India to the forefront of insurtech revolution, which is underway. So that's about II. So one, what do we aim to do? One is, as I mentioned, foster this ecosystem and relationship, also thought leadership. Which is what we are here to discuss today, also help the Indian insurtechs go global through our road shows, which Shobha and the IA team did recently. Sorry, there was a jet passing by. Sorry, and also through partnerships with other insurtech organizations like in Italy, Australia, etc. So this is what we do. We have over 230 members now, and growing. I'm pretty sure we would have crossed this 230 by now. This is a little older deck. We're talking about, so we have annual reports that we publish. We have been doing that in partnership with BCG for the past 3 years. I think it would be great if you guys can also contribute to this year's annual report as well. This is what we are here for, which is the working groups, which is the third one that we talk about here, which is AI in insurance. That apart, we are doing two more working groups are underway, which is cyber, the working group 2 that you see. Working group 5, parametric insurance, is also now underway, and gradually we'll be getting all the 7-8 working groups that we plan to in motion. So this working group is essentially our effort to create a thought leadership position from the IA for the industry. So this is something very, very important, and I thank everyone for taking their time out today for this. I hope this brings together a lot of collaboration and new ideas on how AI is going to shape insurance. We are here for the working group, so I'll pass it over to Nipun.
Right. Thank you, Pallav, and thanks to IA for organizing this. As Pallav was saying, this is part of one of the working groups on AI and insurance, and I think over the past year, we've all in our lives, whether we were working in AI or not, have started to hear probably the buzzword in every single conversation we're having. These fine folks here with me in the panel have been doing this for much longer than I think we've all heard about it. But and so let's hear about it from them. Our panel today, of course, has plenty of expertise in AI and insurance. So I'd like to first ask each one of them. We'll go around the table and them to introduce themselves with an AI view on what they do. So perhaps we can get started. But first, I would also request all our audience to please post their questions in the chat window as we go along, and we'll take up questions towards the end of this session. So thanks for that. With that, let's get started. Vinay, founder and CEO of IIA, can I ask you to introduce yourself and tell us what you're doing?
Sure, Nipun. Yeah, great. Good afternoon, guys. It's a pleasure to be a part of IIA's events. So let me quickly introduce myself. I'm Vinay. I'm the CEO and founder for IIA.ai. We started IIA in 2013, so we are probably the OGs for AI for quite long. Our key focus is primarily around deep learning, and in the last 5, 6 years, we have been working on primarily around ML explainability and alignment. What we are building is an enterprise AI operating system. The idea is you would have multiple places where you would probably want to plug in intelligence as part of your process. That's why we are building a plug and play kind of stack where you can pull data, build models that are truly explainable and auditable and aligned across the techniques from deep learning to RL to classic ML. And you should be able to scale it at an org level. So that's what we have been doing. So typically, we have been deploying our systems either on the customer onboarding or underwriting or claims, fraud monitoring. Now, AI governance as a standalone use case itself is also getting a lot of maturity given the regulations. So that's very quickly about what we do today.
Great. Thanks, Vinay. Jimmy, founder and CEO of Floatbot. Jimmy, could I ask you to go next, please?
Sure. Thanks a lot, Nipun. Hi, everyone. This is Jimmy Paddy. I'm CEO and founder at floatbot.ai. So I'm based out of Silicon Valley in California, so just right outside San Jose. Yeah, probably it's a little late or a little early, whatever you call it for me. But excited to be part of this panel. So we started our journey in 2017 from India and then moved to US probably end of 2022. And since we have moved, we have heavily been focusing on the US insurance market. Primarily, it's Floatbot.ai is a conversational AI platform. So this days AI agent platform that's voice first, working on claims distribution, to some extent underwriting as well as post claim is filed. Here in US it's called registers kind of use cases. So that's what we have been working, helping bringing down the cost of insurance, making all of these core functions available 24/7 in a scalable kind of a mode. So yeah, look forward to hearing to the panelists as well as to the questions.
Great. Thank you, Jimmy. Nilesh is the chief data scientist at Aureus Analytics. Nilesh.
Yeah, good afternoon, everyone. Thanks, Nipun. Happy to be here. Yeah, so I represent Aureus Analytics. We have clients in the US and India region. In the US, we have a platform for insurance agencies. The idea of the platform is to improve the productivity of the agents by telling them more about their own customers. Are they happy? Are they do they have enough risk cover? Are they likely to continue, and so on and so forth? And also give them a sense of how they stand with respect to the industry. In India, we have a variant of the platform which is meant for insurance carriers. And we also have done a lot of different predictive modeling use cases in India, sort of custom models, built for individual use cases. And where do we use AI? I think predominantly it's a large portion of it, has been basically on the ML space, learning from data, basically getting more out of data, internal, external, structured, unstructured, and so on, to sort of know about the customer, which our clients use to improve their productivity and give better experience to the end customers. Recently, we are also experimenting with generative AI to give better UX to a better user experience to our own clients. That's in the experimental stages. Yeah, so I'll stop there. Thanks.
Great. Thank you, Nilesh. Mahesh, director of product from a life insurance perspective at Artivatic.
Hey, hi, Nipun. Glad to be part of this IIA event and happy to meet all the panelists and the audience here. So quickly about Adivatic, we started our company in 2017, predominantly focusing in the area of insurance and healthcare. And we believe that artificial intelligence techniques can really transform the way insurance is looked at by companies and how you look at customers, how you interpret about the customer profiles and make decisions. And that is where Artivatic brings the AI expertise into play. So the areas that we predominantly work on are helping insurance companies onboard customers, do the entire risk assessment using various kinds of artificial intelligence models, use large language models to interpret various unstructured and structured data to kind of enhance the customer understanding and build the customer profile. At the end of the day, trying to significantly improve the risk management capabilities of the insurance companies, both at onboarding as well as at the claim stage, and use fraud intelligence and detection to identify adverse experiences that insurers may otherwise face. In a nutshell, we kind of cover the entire life cycle of a customer, right from a prospect to a claims happening. Of course, all these capabilities are bundled together through various microservices, and we offer a number of bespoke solutions and models which help insurance companies for different types of use cases in these areas. Thank you.
Thank you, Mahesh. Avdesh, who is VP at Vitraya.
Hi, Nipun. Thank you so much. And I'm really happy to be a part of the group today. And I'm really happy, these kind of roundtables have started happening in the country now, where people are talking about different solutions they are, bringing on the table. So our journey goes back, we started with Ria in 2019. And when the pandemic hit, a lot of experience we have, gone through personally, where we have seen some close one going, leaving the body, and everybody was crying, and people are not get discharged. The insurance company was overloaded that time. So all that experience we had, and then we understand, okay, this is a problem which needs to be solved, and Indian insurance company is working in a very different way. So we also understand that the company who's born and brought up in India can understand the problem and can solve the problems. So Indian problems has to have Indian solutions. That is a thought that we started with. What we are doing at Vitra is basically we are leveraging the AI to transform the health and insurance claim processing landscape. Our primary focus basically is to outline the entire claim lifestyle and initiate submission to a final adjudication by utilizing the advanced AI techniques and basically including the machine learning and a neural language processing. What we are doing, we created a system which is completely end to end. So we have a solution for providers and we have a solution for payers. So hospital use our portal to submit the claims. We are already live with 6,000 hospitals right now. We are going to add 10,000 more hospitals this year. And we auto-adjudicate the claim end to end without using any human intervention, digitize that claims, run the medical decision on top of it, remove any abnormality into it, and that is what we're doing. Any insurance company who has applied our solution, they're able to save approximately 10 to 15% on the claim payout. In the country as big as India, we already have like 50 million health insurance claim processing annually. Using our technology, we are able to reduce that 90% or 80%, basically 80% head count reduction we are able to do in the insurance companies. Currently, we are working with in India with larger insurance like Star Health, Nivabupa, Aditya Birla, Bajaj, some of the PSUs, working with the NHA also. We also have clients in Middle East and already working in Africa. US is something that we are exploring right now to expand our reach. That is where we are right now in the organization, completely focused on the health insurance segment, because one of the most complex solution to the problem to be solved, basically. Over to you.
Okay, thank you, Avdesh. And finally, we have Vijay, who is co-founder and CEO at Attributum.
Thanks, Nipun. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm happy to be here. I'm CEO and co-founder, like Nipun said, of Attributum. Attributum works with insurers in India and Middle East to solve their automation problems. So we are a data-first automation company for insurance processes and decisions. We come from a background of insurance bureau, which is LexisNexis. So we understand the insurers' problems in bringing out structured to unstructured and different kinds of data elements. That's why I said we are a data first. We look at AI in insurance in three separate aspects. One is the productivity enhancement, of course. Second being the insights generation, and third is the most important, of course, the decisioning layer. So Attributum has developed a platform called Pivot. Pivot platform looks at different insurance processes and automates solutions for specific bespoke problems of specific insurers as well as industry-wide problems. We'll be talking a little more about attribute solutions and how we are trying to solve the problems. But yeah, this is a high-level introduction about that.
Great. Thank you. Thanks. Now that we all know our panel, let's get right into it. So, to kick things off, one of the major themes in AI today is around risk and underwriting. Around in risk and underwriting has been around leveraging new sources of data. Question to you, Vinay. What sources of data have you been able to introduce into risk and underwriting, and how have you convinced underwriters, actuaries, and maybe even regulators to think differently in the new world? Obviously, given AI has its set of things people are wary about.
Yeah. Um, I mean, one of the issues that we have seen with insurance processes is probably an underutilization of the data that they have, right? It's maybe because the processes were maybe inefficient, meaning, let's say, most of the data is coming in documents, they were not able to utilize that information, or data is coming in, but they're still not able to utilize it because the systems are driven by rule engine kind of systems today. The biggest transformation that we can get started with using the data what you have today, right? That's probably is missing in most of the insurers at this point of time. And there is a lot of interest to leverage it, maybe because of the hype around the market, or people have realized that now they have a better process. Let's see how they can augment the process and use it to benefit the top line or use it to benefit the risk, for example. So that's the first step that I've seen that many people have taken so far. How do they include information sets that is coming in from the application form, from third-party sources, for example, like Bureau, which is again a traditional data point, at least in the life insurance business, for example. That's probably step one. Some insurers have taken those steps already. Some insurers are in the process of taking it. Second that we have seen is enriching this data going into these models, right? Meaning models require two things. One is width of the data and the depth of the data. The more context the models have about a customer, the more dimensions the model can assess a customer. Same thing about the depth as well, right? The depth as well. The more data the model has, the more quickly the models can learn the patterns and able to replicate or even enhance the underwriter performance. So there we have seen new data sources coming in, which is primarily converting an unstructured data sources like telemia reports, for example, medical records at the time of underwriting, which are traditionally PDFs, and using that information as part of the modeling. That became a level 2 kind of exercise, which is fine. I started with the data that I have. That's one. Second, I can start utilizing these unstructured data sources. Let me convert that and feed that into my model. The third piece is an evolutionary steps that we have seen, which is very, very early stages. Very few people are kind of exploring things like a very dynamic questionnaire, for example. It's all underwriting is nothing but asking the right question, right? That's where I believe is the greatest value is. Rest of it is you have all the data which you typically get even now, even today. So how do you personalize the questionnaire information, for example? How do you go beyond a simple rule-based questionnaire structure? So how do you personalize the questions? Because it's also a matter of customer experience. It's also a matter of competition in the market. They can't ask too many questions. They can't spend too much time at the application process, right? So that became a new avenue that people are started looking at. So how do they ask the right question, which may be through a structured or unstructured input. Unstructured input is, can I have a selfie of a customer? Let me use that information and extract multiple insights and observations from that. Or can I ask a video from a customer instead of asking a question? Or can I ask a question directly? That's the other thing. So these are the three different ways that I've seen. But I would say the largest strategic value is using what you have efficiently is going to be the biggest differentiator. So people underlook at that problem. It may be so mechanically solvable, but because of less sexiness in the problem, many people don't look at it too seriously. They always say, let me try out with something new, but rather they would miss a lot of value on what they already have. If you're able to use the information like your historical underwriting, historical claims, historical sourcing information, you are better off probably in the top 10% of the percentile any which ways. That's basic fundamental strategizing or some of these things is what Some people have started, some people are in the exercises and all of that. But these are three different iterations that I've seen in the market, particularly on the underwriting side.
Interesting, and that makes sense. I think a lot of times we think about new things and new data and all of that, and I think
as I said, there's no sexiness in solving new, right? Yeah.
Start with what you have, and there's probably a lot more you can do with that too.
Correct.
Going from there to the modeling side a little bit, Nilesh, where do you see the need for people to build their own models versus leveraging a lot more power that existing models out there in AI are starting to give us? What do you see as how do we make those trade-offs?
I personally believe that even with the sort of models out there, there will always be that need of specializing or or customizing models to their own needs, and maybe might be a good idea to sort of differentiate a little bit here. So if I talk of the ML side, right? So we are using the word model very broadly here. Right? But if I talk of the ML machine learning side, learning from data, um, I think the best scenario is you can get going quickly if you are able to have a model that is trained, that already is like pre-trained or that's carrying some wisdom with it, and then tune it to your own needs. That's probably the best solution. And with those use cases, it's possible to do that as well. With the relatively lesser, I think, relatively lesser effort. If you look at the generative AI side, even I mean, since we are using the word model, right? I think even there probably similar logic will apply, but customizing those and all is a whole different ballgame. Plus, so if you look at something like large language models, they are, I think, depending on the use case we are using, and if you use them to say understand the language or interpret a document and extract information from complex documents and so on, probably you can make good use of what's already out there. So with a lesser need of customizing. However, right? But having said that, right, whatever I think, whatever scenario we look at, I think somebody is always going to think of, or everybody at some point is always going to think of, can I make this model better by making it more tuned to my particular use case. So that need is going to remain there in almost all the cases. I think it's more, and it can be more easily handled for cases like predictive modeling, right? Still leveraging an existing model, if it's trained on sort of global information or global data, and tuning it is a better idea. It'll give you more. I mean, that's how I'll summarize it. So I don't see the need going away. Maybe the models, the generic models will get better and better, and that will maybe reduce. But then we always have these sort of pointed use cases where we feel that, okay, I can take this and I can make this better.
So if you think you have a use case which fits with sort of the generic line of thinking to start with, maybe you go with existing models. But you're very, very focused. I think that's what I'm hearing from you, is to say, okay, there you pick. You might start to build your own.
Yeah, and when you start using a generic model, right, you'll always see some avenues to improve it. In some cases, it will give, it's feasible to do that and you'll get some ROI in it. Some cases, it's just too much effort to get there. So, maybe you can better use the generic models.
Right. Thanks, Nilesh. Jimmy, Nilesh brought up LLMs, and of course, we've all been seeing and hearing tons about it. I think, given in your space, and I think one of your early products has been around chatbots and conversations. How has LLMs impacted the way you think about building technology and your product? And has it meant you sort of take certain hard decisions to switch out what you might have already invested in?
Yeah, so year of 2023 was, for us was to add a lot of functionalities in our platform around LLM. In fact, we launched Agent M in mid of last year. We were invited here at New York Stock Exchange to formally launch that as well. We talked about how we are applying Agent M, which is nothing but an LLM agent for claims filing, first notice of loss. So yeah, I mean, definitely a lot changed. Classically, how we used to build a model and deploy that for the conversational AI use cases, let that be for customer support, let that be for claims filing through a voice call or through, let's say, a WhatsApp-based chat, right? So, and obviously we went ahead and added few new modules in our platform. Here, somebody talked about document based searching. So, there are several use cases we are working on where our platform allows to upload set of documents, let that be PDF, a knowledge base, could be underwriting guidelines, and that's heavily being used right now by a lot of sales agent network, right, to get their 80-90% of their queries answered on underwriting, when they're trying to sell the policy. So if we see at the US landscape compared to India, in India we have been working with few carriers, and in US largely we are working not just with carriers, insurance carriers, but with few other segments of users such as MGAs, third-party administrators, and brokers, agencies. And they themselves, each of them are large enough, uh, bigger than maybe a carrier in India, right? So there are a lot of use cases around this for different products. Primarily, we call here in US they call it PNC, which in India translates to kind of general line of products in auto, home, etc. So not just, you mentioned about sales, right? So not just on the sales journey now, the chatbots are a lot more conversational. It can mimic a sales agent. So that's more of an external facing use cases. We are also working on claims. So right now, from June, the catastrophe season would start, and we are enabling a lot of carriers in the coastal region to get a claim filed through a call. So somebody can call in, call the number, and get the complete claims filed on the call itself, which are highly conversational, which can just mimic a claims representative. So definitely LLM has changed the game. It has helped to reduce not only the cost, but increase the smartness, I would say, of these AI bots, are now closely able to mimic the human call center agents in claims or sales area. And there are area of some of the use cases we're working internally as well. So that's helping increasing efficiency for an underwriter or an adjuster, so on and so forth.
All right, so for you, it's been positive, being able to take on more use cases, being able to build more into your platform as well, and
Yeah,
do much.
it's very positive for us. We've gone ahead and obviously we leverage uh, a lot of third-party LLM models, but are also building and deploying insurance-specific, models that are built. I mean, not built from scratch, but I would say leveraging some of the open source models, training them to insurance-specific data around this use cases. So we're calling it Float GPT. That's what we, so which is similar to like, a chat GPT, but Float GPT is more around some of the insurance use cases we have been working on internally as well as externally. And yeah, and the use cases are not just on conversational AI, but it's around extracting reports or building reports or generating reports after a claim is filed, or after the claim is processed, etc. as well. So yeah, I mean, it's definitely a big edge, or I would say plus for us, increasing efficiency of our use cases, helping them kind of give an ROI clearly to the customer, like what they were paying prior to using our AI, and what's post that, bringing down an 80% difference. ROI is clearly visible now.
Got it. Thank you. So continuing on the Gen AI path, maybe I'll move to Avdesh. Right, on the claim side, how's it changed things for you in terms of building technology to process claims? And is it true that a lot that was previously perhaps proprietary technology can now be built a lot more easily?
Yeah, I guess generative AI has completely changed the landscape of problem solving, right? So using generative AI, you can right now able to build something better quickly and solve the more complex problems available in the market. Earlier, when we start, when we used to build the technology, the time was, huge in terms of output, and impact was not that much. But the moment we start using generative AI, it's allow us to create more sophisticated and adaptive models that can handle complex and variety data inputs with a greater accuracy. Just to give an example, every hospital or every insurance company work with, let's say, 10,000 hospitals. With every single hospital, they have a different rate agreement, right? SOC, which we call in the industry. Now, every SOC can run from like 200 pages to 350 pages. So let's say 1,000 line items. Now, every line item has a relatability. For example, in SOC, you have a module, you say, okay, package A, category 1, category B, and the line items in the documents mean something completely different. Now, when you receive a bill from a hospital, in SOC, they have written oxygen, but in the bill, they have written O2. How do you understand, right? When you digitize the bill, how do you compare with the SOC? So relatability is there. So using generative AI and technology, we are able to map these things, the closest match possible in the SOC document, and all of these things, we are able to do on a, in a Ziffy very quickly. Human will not be able to possible go through a single line item when the bill received. Bill also run in like multiple pages. So using generative AI, we are able to do that. It's one of the part of the problem solving we are able to do. Second part of the problem, when we talk about where we are helping doctors to analyze the bills if the claim is medically admissible or not. So we look at the document. For example, a procedure is happening. So we look at the document, what documents are required for this particular claim to be processed. Then we look for the evidence within the documents. Let's say if somebody is getting operated for a stone, as per guidelines, the stone should be more than 10 then only the hospital admission is required. Otherwise, it can be operated by, it can be taken care by pharma. So looking at the evidence within documents and then making a relatability between these documents. Okay, let's say if in a document somewhere HIV is written in a report or HIV is written in a prescription, what does it mean? So all of those things, that complex galaxy I'm talking about in terms of algorithms, rules, engine decisions, and how to process this quickly. All of this we are able to do. We are able to build the models, train them, and we are able to do it just because of generative AI. Right now, when a claim comes on our platform, we are able to process the claim under 1 minute using all these three modules, running the policy rules, product rules, looking at the medical admissibility, running the tariff and bill, and give the accurate decision, and also taking care of the abuse and the fraud in the system. So it's not possible without using and the leveraging the technology. And generative AI is basically helping us a lot in these segments. So yes, it's basically spectrum is completely changed now. The kind of solution that you'll see in the market is very different, and we are really excited the kind of impact we are able to create now in the industry. So we are really working towards on this. By next year, more and more people, people should not wait more than 30 minutes in the hospital when they want to go home, because that's one of the largest, or I would say the longest waiting time somebody can have in their life, when people want to go back home and they have to wait for the decision to come from the insurance company.
Thank you. Interesting and very real examples of, obviously people sitting on the other side and trying to process claims, also previously having to look through and understand those 300-page documents is clearly not something very efficient from a human perspective as well, and accurate perhaps. So, interesting examples. Thanks. Let me go back to a little bit of the insurer side as we Insurtech see it, and I'll come to Mahesh. Mahesh, have you seen or do you see some of the AI out there making it easier for us as an ecosystem to perhaps integrate our solutions with insurer systems, or you see the evolution going in a certain direction that way on that aspect?
Yeah, I think clearly, Nipun, I think that is the trend that we are seeing now in India because, as Vinay earlier said, there is a lot of underutilization of data. So when we talk to insurers about the power of data, the amount of data that is available within the proposal form and the supporting information that the underwriter gets, text to profiling a customer and making a decision. I think there is a shift and evolution that we are seeing where insurers do want to adopt this technology. It is used as a aid where the machine, the generative AI platforms, the computer vision techniques that are used to get all the information out, contextualize the information, use generative AI to make an interpretation, use models to predict certain outcomes that will happen with that profile, which are likely to happen, give a confidence score to the proposal, and do it tirelessly. So these are models which work the same way, irrespective of which time of the day, which day of the year, which day of month of the year you're underwriting. Typically, in a insurance industry, depending on which month of the year, which day of the month you're underwriting, the quality of underwriting decisions could vary significantly. If the underwriter doesn't look at certain information, it can come and hit them back when there is a big claim that comes and hits them. The market wants to become, insurers want to become profitable by selling more term business, more protection business. So there, I think interpreting medical information, not all underwriters are medically trained. Not everybody can understand every single medical terminology that is used. As Abdesh said, every hospital, every diagnostic center gives different nomenclatures for the same set of tests. So a hemoglobin test can be spelled in, can be given in some 5,000 different ways. A cholesterol test can be defined in some different number of nomenclatures. How do we use, a human brain cannot process so much, and you need to operate at scale. When we are talking about insuring everybody, the regulator is talking about insuring everybody by 2047. The insurers need to be able to operate at scale. They need to be able to penetrate the markets that were under-penetrated. The 4% insurance penetration has to grow up. And that is where I think technology really comes to play, where you can bring the technology right to the doorstep of a customer and the distributor so that they can onboard the customer seamlessly. You assess the risk based on all the augmented data that you can kind of get from the customer's profile. Look at location risks, look at geography, look at medical data, look at financial data, interpret that information and provide a recommendation, a score, a confidence score for that decision, and help the underwriter to make a faster decision. I think when we are talking about that proposition, I think there is an evolution. What I think we need to be careful about is that insurers are using platforms for last 15, 20 years. You cannot go and say that I can just transform the entire platform and replace with a new age technology. So I think that is where we learned that it is very important to unbundle your solutions rather than going and taking it as a monolithic new age technology platform, because there may not be a appetite to replace the entire platform overnight. So you need to give what complements with their existing process, and that is where we find a lot of compatibility that we are driving with insurers, where we use our generative AI capabilities with their existing workflow system where that is required. And where the insurers want to change and transform their entire landscape, that solution is available, because this is completely microservices driven. There are over 700 insurance specific APIs that we have developed. Some of them are under patent right now. So I think the power of this technology is to be able to offer it in a modular manner so that the insurers can adapt to it faster. And I think the results are there to be seen. Every client that we have worked with has seen a scalability that has happened without adding manpower. They've been able to see a significant improvement in the A/B ratios from a claim standpoint. And I think once you start showcasing these capabilities in terms of distributor satisfaction, reduction in turnaround times, reducing unit costs, improving your claims experience, and I think the one point that I would like to underscore is the amount of digital data that gets created for the insurance company as a result of these processes helps insurance companies to better analyze their patterns, their historical trends, do dynamic product pricing, create products that are more tuned to the markets that they're going after, make it more personalized. I think the amount of digital data that is getting created in the bargain is, I think, a wealth of information, which otherwise would go and sit in a document management system in the form of paper. It will just sit there and nobody will go back and look at the data ever again. I think that is one of the big advantages that I see, and that is prompting the chat discussions with insurance companies, that is prompting the change. And we have seen the largest insurers adapting to it. So we have that experience, and we have seen the largest of the insurance companies taking it on and making use of these technologies. And I think this is just the beginning. With the generative AI capability coming in, I think it's transforming the way we are able to interpret and contextualize information in a much better manner with an insurance specific approach. And I think that is where I'm seeing that it is the beginning, and I think we are going to see a much bigger wave of transformation in next 5 to 10 years time.
Right, so I think from the insurer's standpoint, I think a couple of things you're saying is that one, modularize, and I think all of us here have probably had some experience in having those conversations. So modularize. Two, I think a lot of what you've said was around focus on problems. So like pick specific problems, go small, build from there. And then third, I think one of the things you also said back connecting to what Vinay was saying earlier was leveraging data which is now being digitized and becoming available in a way for us to do more with. And I think that's sort of a common thread that's starting to emerge. Thanks for sharing. Yeah. Coming to you, Vijay, I know insurance workflows is one of your core, and insurance workflows vary a lot with line of business, function, product, the works, right? How does your platform and leverage AI now in terms of workflows to help deliver that level of customization even more?
Surely. Nipun. I think my co-panelists have spoken a lot about the tech that is going in, and where I'm going to start from is what makes business sense for insurtechs as well as business sense for the insurer. What we have seen in the past also, and in our short journey. In fact, we are probably the newest insurtech in this panel itself. What we've seen is, where to start is a big question that every insurer has. A lot was spoken earlier by Vinay, Avdesh, and Mahesh also on the value of unstructured data, right? So where insurers store data, it could be PDFs, it could be transcripts of conversations, it could be their call center conversations that never get recorded at any point in time. So all those. So what strikes as the most important thing for an insurer? Let me rephrase that. What strikes as demonstrable most important thing for the insurer in terms of adoption of AI or in general tech is something that can be measured, and what we have seen is productivity enhancement and solving redundancies in processes are amongst the most important for insurer, and definitely the metrics around that is easy to demonstrate, and that's one element where insurers are most willing to adopt and as well. You mentioned about the workflows. Of course, we work with a lot of insurers to streamline their workflows, to enable AI and automation in within their workflows. We have microservices built around many of the workflows for them. We create industry-wide solutions for when I say industry-wide, the things that are common between many insurers, we create that and we offer common APIs for many insurers. So what improves them and what is most demonstrable is the area of productivity enhancement. Now, having said that, that is not the end game. That is only the starting point. It fits into what most of the panelists here alluded to in terms of getting where there is productivity means you're cutting down on cost immediately for the insurer, and in the process, you're actually adding data elements which were not there earlier in a more accurate way. In you reduce frauds there, you reduce redundancies in the process that is there, and eliminate documents perhaps for the insurers. And that is where the workflows come in. And what we have seen is all these data elements are adding to something what we call as the insights layer. Now insights could be decisions for tomorrow, and these insights are added as a element in the insurer's data models, for example. Where we see Gen AI coming in is in the insights layer. Now, how do they interpret the insights that are generated as a part of their transactions to insights that can be used in a different process? For example, let me give you an example. Something that we work at the time of acquisition with an insurer for automating a specific process became very important at the time of claims. Because the record of past policy pre-existing diseases was available at the time of claims. That's just one example, but those insights get added to the insurer, and where Gen AI comes in interpreting that and relating it to an incoming claim and solving it in real time. So those are the elements that we think are being solved in the industry with the advent of Gen AI. A lot has been spoken about how the SLMs are also there. Insurer-specific SLMs are also being deployed as we speak for their specific processes and interpretations within specific domains of insurers as well. Over to you, Nipun.
Got it. Thank you. So I think one of the key points you were alluding to was focus on productivity from a workflow perspective, and see where you've been able to drive those improvements. And I think that's sort of maybe the sweet spot you're seeing in terms of workflows and AI as well. Great, thank you. Keeping mindfulness of the clock, what I'm going to do is perhaps let me take a couple of questions that have come in from the audience first, and then see if there's more time. There's a few more questions that we have as well. But there's a question here from Hitul, who is asking the panel about what kind of ROI have we seen from AI thus far, right? And LLMs are expensive to run. I'm sure some of us have opinions. I'm going to leave this open. If you would like to take a crack at that, please go ahead. Love to hear your thoughts.
I can quickly talk on the ROI that we're seeing in the US market specifically.
Thanks. Go ahead, Jim.
So, one very quick comment. In US, to get a claims filed, insurance carriers typically pay anywhere from $30 to $45 per claim filed. And with our AI agents, it's bringing it down to under $2. These are LLM powered. So that's a very quick ROI to share.
Great, thanks. That's an interesting number to hear. Mahesh, were you going to say something?
Yeah, I was just trying to say that. So if I just look at one of the use cases that we are talking about in a health insurance company, or even for that matter, in a life insurance company, there is a typical process of issuing certain policies on a STP basis, straight through basis. So when we look at the real STP that insurance companies have, it's hovers around 60 to 65%. Now using a generative AI or an AI-based approach, the remaining 35 to 40% of the business, which otherwise goes to an underwriter, the cost of underwriting a policy medically or non-medically hovers anywhere between 1,500 to 2,000 rupees just for the medical examination, plus the cost that the underwriter spends. Now, using a generative AI capability, if we are able to accept and take a decision on the cases that otherwise goes to the underwriter, even a 15 to 20% of those cases, if they go through with a final decision without a very detailed human intervention, that saves huge amount of money for the company. We can predict the disease risk and health risk of a customer based on a lot of number of augmented and alternate sources of information other than typically going for a standard set of medical examination, which is anyway going to cost
Right.
1,500 rupees. So I think that there is a huge ROI when you start looking at the complex, bigger, the medically underwritten policies and try to get those decided without human intervention or without having to go through a medical examination and use alternate sources of information to evaluate the profile. I think that brings in a huge ROI benefit for the insurance company. And I think the one should also look at what you get in the long run. I think in the long run, when you look at it, you start improving your A by E experience, and you start, as I said, digitizing a lot of data that helps you to make personalized products and offerings. So if you're able to do that, that helps you straight away on your top line. So there is a bottom line benefit, and if you use this data smartly and intelligently, that straight away results in a top line benefit. So there is a huge ROI to be unlocked. It is about how one governs and uses this information and methodology and has the patience to stay invested. So I think that is critical, and the players who have stayed invested on it for at least 3 years, they're starting to see the impact of huge amount of benefits that they're seeing.
So I want to add something on the ROI point, if Nipun, we have the time to. So basically, ROI, it's a very good question. Basically, any insurance company, why would somebody would like to invest time, energy, and money into something when they're not getting a return out of it? Just to give an example, right now in India, the average claim cost is basically between 60,000 to 70,000 rupees. When we are using our technology, we are able to save approximately 3,500 rupees to 7,000 rupees. The trend that we are looking at different insurance companies. When we are able to look at the abuse and the fraud in the market, we are able to save that kind of money. So it's an actual outcome. You're able to stop it. The moment you implement the technology, you're able to save 5% to 10% to 15%, depending on different scenarios. So for any insurance company, if you are able to save 5%, it's a huge amount of money. They're not able to increase the sales accordingly, right? 5% is enough on the claim payout basis. So ROI is there from day one. Now, when we are working with different and multiple insurance companies, we are able to leverage a lot of digital data. So data, if you're not able to use right, it's a junk. Earlier, it was lying in your document management system in the PDF file or Excel file. Right now, you have digitized data. But till that time, your data is not actionable, not queryable. You're not able to use it for something else. It's a junk for you. So this technology is basically able to give you that leverage to query the data at the right time, identifying the PDCs, implementing them at the time of claim, giving the right value for the claims. So ROI is there in different aspects. So the way Jimmy said, right, there is ROI when you are start working. When we implement our technology, we are able to reduce the 80% headcounts. So people in the team can do much more advanced and important stuff rather than doing the day-to-day stuff. So technology is able to free people. So definitely there's ROI. The moment you start using it, it's a great value. And you don't need to be, long-term impact is huge, but from day one, impact is there.
Right. Thanks. I think the three of you have given good examples of places and use cases where there is ROI. So I think the message from there is there are plenty of places where there is ROI, in spite of maybe the cost of running certain models being high, and you have to find them, pick those, deliver value there. And of course, I think naturally things will follow. The other aspect of this, obviously not covered, was that the cost of running these models is also constantly dropping. I think there is, I don't know the exact stat, but I think 50% cost drop every iteration of the model that's coming out. But I think that will also continue to happen. Let me take the second question, and maybe I'll direct this one to Vinay to start with, which is more around data protection, data security, especially when we're talking about AI models, right? We are in a very regulated industry, insurance all over the world, and especially, even in India as well. So, thoughts on security and data protection as we start to use some of the existing models more, and of course, we've been building models forever. Like, what's your take, Vinay? Can I start?
Yeah, I think at least on the data democratization side, there is enough processes today, right? At least that has been getting matured. Maybe starting off with the introduction of GDPR compliance about 3-5 years back, right? People started thinking that, okay, fine, they have to put in all these controls, constraints around who gets to access the data, and And there was a lot of localization that has happened in the last 3-5 years because of both RBI and IIDI saying everyone that transactional data can't be put in outside the geography, for example. So there has been enough, I would say, homework and processes around data and data governance. But what has not thought through is what is the risk is introduced by using an AI model, for example. Let's take an LLM as a scenario, right? There is enough examples of prompt injection attacks or model hacks, for example, or model reciprocation attacks, where I can use an LLM to derive the actual training data used inside the LLM. Forgot about an LLM, so I can use a deep learning model and hack the deep learning model to get the actual training data out of it. Some of these are very less and very not known scenarios in terms of data governance problems, right? Meaning, okay, this happened multiple times, not just in ChatGPT kind of scenarios. But these are the things that people have now started thinking very in a very focused manner. Not everyone have seen these very well marketed, at least from a usage standpoint. So while data governance risk is there, so now the unintroduced regulation is AI regulations, right, which has not prominent in India at the moment. There are very broad regulations around the processes, maybe in lending, for example, where RBI has said that they need to be enough transparency in the underwriting. Whereas on the insurance side, I would probably think it's very much under-regulated at the moment when it comes to using AI at this moment. There was no guidelines nor regulations around how you can use AI, what kind of risk monitoring system you should have when you use a model in production. How do you protect yourself from a business continuity risk? Because everyone talked about using AI to augment my process by 60%, 100%, sometimes multiple times as well, which means it is not part of the business, right? It's not part of a simple process optimization strategy. Then if something fails, then it becomes a business continuity risk. Imagine a scenario where a model failed and given wrong underwriting for almost 50% of the cases in a month, right? That's the end of a business for that business. It has happened in Zillow. I'm not extrapolating some of these hypothetical scenarios, but this is the next direction that we would see gaining a lot of momentum, particularly in next coming months. Yeah, we have talked about it. I think the government talked about it, but applicability is going to start quite soon. Some of it also has happened in the last few months, right? When IT Ministry has given strict regulations around generative AI usage, and then it was retraced afterwards because it was too strict when it comes to using of it. And then there is deepfake, which is again a biggest problem, right? So KYC, everyone was boosting that I have a best video KYC system, but now everything is being questioned because of this. So starting off with data governance and laws, that has been a very well-educated process, but there are new things that are happening around peripheral of it, which probably becomes as risk as having a data leakage risks, or maybe more as well. This is where we see the regulations going towards in the next coming months and years, where there will probably be more stricter regulations or clear regulations around what you can do, what you can't do, or how to do. That will become a very important factor for using AI as well.
Thank you, Vinay, for highlighting an important aspect which is very important to any kind of AI discussion today, from data governance, regulatory, how do we think about security, and what are the kind of risks we might face within AI. Right? Like, it's a whole new world of kind of attacks that you're talking about, which maybe we're not thinking about at all. I know we're close to time. I'm going to take one more question and bring in Nilesh and Vijay back in again. Not had a chance to get you back. Nilesh, Vijay, what are some of the challenges you think that we as a community, and we're part of IIA and the discussion is part of IIA, that we can come together to address, or we can leverage the community to address, from say policy to data to cost of running AI to competition? I want to hear both of your thoughts on what you think about
I'll
that.
go first. Sure. I think one of the panelists, I think Vinay touched upon democratization of data. Now, there is a lot of public data which is, I shouldn't call it non-democratized, but there is a lot of availability, which can be used not just by Insurtechs. Of course, there is a lot of proposal for usage across some of the government systems or the public systems, but not yet in the private sector. One of the examples could easily be the IIB data, for example, which is beginning to be opened up for insurers. There are some of the efforts that are going in. As an industry or probably as an association, if there can be representation on why just insurers need to have that access, why not Insurtechs, for example, people working in claims who are working very closely with insurers through or may not be through the insurer is the question, right? There are multiple examples in the Western world for these kind of open data sources availability. I mean, when we were in my past role in LexisNexis, the bureaus in US, for example, thrive on such open availability of data, and such kind of democratization is what I think I feel the industry needs to move forward to. I think that can be one of the elements that we can take up as an industry, and that is primarily a big challenge in India, right? So yeah.
Thanks, Vijay. Nilesh?
Yeah, I think what Vijay spoke on was pretty much at the top of my mind as well. So whatever we do, I think some of the panelists spoke about insurers maybe not making the best use of the data that they have, and I absolutely agree with them. So a lot of people are talking about enrichment and external sources, but their internal data they still need to make available better. However, having said that, right, at some point we reach that limit, and then I'm always thinking about what else can I get, and the same thing. I mean, I see the same thing in the US geography. I have more avenues to go out to. There are more vendors legally, selling data, and then more sources. In India, it's a lot more constrained. So if and I don't have a great answer to how to do that, but if there's a way of better sharing of data, I think that's the foremost thing that will improve things for everyone. I mean, that's the very first thing I can think of. Other challenges, we have a platform, right? So the US and all, we face this issue with standardization a lot. So people, different agencies, they customize their systems to such an extent that if you work with 5 different agencies, their data structures and all look very, very different, and it's a big challenge for us to sort of map it to something standard. But then we are using partly some AI techniques as well to handle that. Again, I don't know how to have a collaboration to improve that, but that was the second thing that came to my mind in terms of challenges. So yeah, maybe 2 foremost things that I had.
Interesting. I think so. Data standardization and availability of data is we as an organization, institution, collaboration of maybe all of us people here with we're able to bring value there. I think that's the 2 things you both are pointing out. Interesting, and thank you. We are over time. I think each one of the questions we discussed, we could probably spend an hour talking about each one of those in a lot more detail. But I think this has been an interesting discussion. I think this is just the start. Thanks to all of you panelists for being here for the conversation. Thanks to our audience for staying on and staying on a little bit late as well. Much appreciated, and thanks again for IIA for putting this together. We would love feedback. So if you do have any feedback on the session, please go ahead and share it in the community. And we do plan to do more, and we'll continue to take that feedback into account. So thank you. Thanks, everyone. Much appreciated. And have a good rest of the week.
Thank you, Nipun. Really
Thank you.
appreciate it.
Thank you, Nipun. Thanks a lot. See you, everyone.